And let's get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Matias Lemos Castillo. It is my honor to be here with you all. I'm truly excited for the start of, this series we're getting started, Public Participation Amplified, podcast by IAP2, Public Participation. And really, I'm here to share with you all. Really want to start us off by thinking, what if public participation wasn't just the checkbox, but the most powerful tool we have collectively to better shape the decisions, build stronger community, and build real authentic trust. Our hope today is to kick us off with this podcast, Public Participation Amplified, and learn real skills, real challenges, stories about what is public participation and how can we all collectively be part of this. Um, like I said, my name is Matias Lemo Castillo. I'm one of the hosts for this podcast. I'm here joined by Jasmine. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. Yasmin Turk, right here in Austin, Texas, the heart of Texas. Excited to be here and excited for this conversation today with Executive Director Aaron Zimmerman.
Hey,
Also,
Aaron.
hi, Aaron.
Hello, I'm thrilled to be here. And thank you, both of you, for launching this incredible podcast. Very excited to have it.
Do you want to
We're excited
introduce
to
her,
have you.
Matthias?
Yeah, let me read your bio, Aaron. You have such a powerful bio. I was like, I don't know how to summarize this, but today joining us for our first episode, we have Erin Zimmerman. She joined IAP2 back in 2019 as a strategic development manager, and in January of 2022 moved to the executive director role, uh, where she's been working diligently for the last 4 years as the ED for IAP2. She has over a decade of nonprofit and volunteer experience. She likes leading cross-sector collective impact initiatives and partnerships, implementing strategic planning and change management process, and expanding literacy program across the state, starting her own consulting business, and supporting a global project on high-performing board and CEO partnerships. Uh, she holds a bachelor's degree in journalism from Colorado State University and a master in counseling from University of Phoenix. And she seeks out challenges and opportunities to grow and believes everyone has a story to tell if someone's willing to listen. She enjoys spending time outdoors with her husband and two children. Erin, welcome to the show. How are you
Thank
doing this
you. Thanks
morning?
for having me. Good. This is so exciting.
It's so exciting to get this started with you. You're honestly the person we wanted to have right at the beginning of
Oh,
this series. We could have think of anyone else. Before we jump into the questions, you want to just give us a little bit more who you are, tell us about your day-to-day life, anything you want to share with the audience?
absolutely. So, it's such a privilege and honor to get to serve as the executive director of IAP2 USA. I think, um, you know, it's just such an incredible organization. And to be able to connect and support and work with really incredible, passionate people across the United States that are in all different organizations, different roles, different sectors, but are all doing really important work, right? Coming together, working to engage communities and involve them in decision making practices in their communities. Like that's just so powerful. And so, yeah, it truly is an honor to get to be behind the scenes in some of that and support incredible work. Um, yeah, it's exciting and it's fun to be able to bring those people together to support one another, and get to know other people that are doing community engagement and share best practices. So.
I love that. And public participation is really evolving to meet the moment right now. And so I really hope this series kind of leans into what's emerging right now and also kind of invites practitioners to be more experimental, community centered, and really kind of focused on what the future is. And so we're hoping in each episode, we're kind of going to blend some of the storytelling with the takeaways and talk about some of those big questions, digital connection, the future of democracy, civic trust And as a board member for IAP2, I also kind of get the honor to see some of those conversations happening in the background. So I hope we get to bring a lot of those forward. And now just seems like the right time to share that out with a podcast. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your perspective and giving you kind of the chance to share out a lot of those big ideas and kind of what's going on in the background.
Love it. Yeah.
So
So should
to
we
start us
start with the
off,
foundation?
yeah, go
Go
ahead.
for it.
Uh, Erin, we just want to learn from you. What does public participation really mean to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when we talk about public participation, we're really talking about intentional processes, right? Not just checking the box, but actively working with people to help shape decisions, actions, and outcomes. We use those words engagement and participation interchangeably, but I think the key is how it gets done. It should be purposeful, goal driven, grounded in trust and relationships, and centered on people. Um, it also has to be inclusive and equity focused, and ultimately should lead to real impact, not just conversations, but better decisions. So, I think one of those gut checks is, are we listening? Are we really open to hearing things, even if it's challenging our assumptions or might even change direction of outcomes or decisions?
Yeah, I think that when you say the public, it kind of makes me think about who actually gets to be a part of that process. So how do you decide who the public is for a given decision and who often gets left out?
Yeah, great question. I think the public is broader than people sometimes think. It includes anyone who's affected or is interested in a decision. So, that could be individuals, it could be community groups, businesses, nonprofits, even people within your organization. But I think in practice, we don't always know, or not everyone shows up equally. So there are marginalized communities, there are youth voice, right, that isn't always represented, or people with lived experience that are not used to or comfortable with being asked their opinions. They may not have ever had that opportunity. And so, the work becomes intentional. It's, who's not there, who might be impacted but isn't in the room, what barriers might prevent them from participating, and how can we be really thoughtful about designing processes that are more open and inclusive.
Have you seen any strategies used around the country that kind of do that, kind of reach those underrepresented voices that
Yeah.
you think are things that could be used more, or things that are innovative that mo some communities might not have thought of?
Mhm. I think one thing that I hear quite frequently, whether it's talking with some of our chapter members or just some of our members in general, as they're talking about their program and work, but really leaning into community-based organizations. Where are there already those connections, right? Where is trust already established? And knowing that, especially within the government sector, being okay with that may not be you, and so how might you participate in a different way? How might you listen in a different way? And not necessarily always needing to be the one creating the table, right? Sometimes public participation means going to someone else's table, right?
Mm,
Yeah.
love that.
A lot of that
And
relationship building, a lot of it is not even just the actual, survey or, tool of evaluation. It's like building those relationships that are not just the transaction of the moment.
Yeah, and I think that's a shift that we really have seen, is that greater emphasis and that recognition of that relationship building, right? And doing that first. So often with projects, we might be so focused on getting to a decision or getting to an outcome, right? And we get caught up in what methods we want to use and all of that, and not necessarily taking that time to set that aside and build that relationship first. Sometimes that means listening to the community, and it might be that they're wanting to share something that's different, right? Something that might not be specific to your project or that topic, but it's just as important to hear that feedback as well and give them that space to share, right?
Oh, that's great. I love that point, Aaron, about having that space for the community to come and share. And um, I'm just curious, are there any blind spots you've seen organizations have when it comes to that public participation or the strategies?
Oh my gosh, so much. I think one of the things that um, a lot of folks are struggling with right now is that doing a lot with a little. And so
Mm,
there's constraints, right? Whether that's budget constraints, whether that's timeline constraints. Sometimes this work doesn't always fit in the nice little box that we're wanting to put it in. And so, what do we do with that then, right? Is it renegotiating? Is it managing those expectations? Is it working with the decision makers, right, to be clear on what is truly needed, and also being clear about ramifications or challenges if it isn't a managed process and isn't, giving the space and time that's needed.
mm. I appreciate that you brought in the real-time constraints that folks are facing. Definitely have seen it in my work and Jasmine, I'm assuming maybe you've seen it in your work day to day. Um, it's it's really real in real time. So thanks for bringing that into the space. Uh, let's think now. You brought the folks into the table. What is the next challenge you truly usually hear? How do you move from, the opinions to more lived experience sort of conversations? Can you share a little bit more about that? Now folks are gathered and it's ready to have that
Yeah,
conversation.
absolutely. So, I don't think that there's one size fits all methods, right? It's really about choosing um, what's appropriate for each context. And I think too, really knowing the community and what, how they want to engage. That's so critical. And
Mm.
so partnering, again, trusted organizations, building those relationships for input, well, it really can change everything. And sometimes, I think bringing forward uh, questions that aren't asked, can help get to what might matter most. So creating that space to start um, creating an opportunity to go deeper, to listen to that lived experience and not just surface level feedback, not just only seeking out like content expertise or that sort of thing, like really making sure that a variety of perspectives and expertise is valued in the process.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Aaron, for sharing that. And how do you weave storytelling into the process? I'm just curious. Is that something that you do, or how might one do it? Can you share a little
Oh
bit
my
more of
goodness.
that?
That's such an interesting thing because and I think it's something to kind of, yes, it's valuable and important, and we need to be respectful of the communities and whose stories those are, right? If they're wanting them to be shared or not, and if so, how, right? I think sometimes um, we get caught up in wanting to communicate and build a case and all that we've got to be respectful of like what is the authentic way to do that, in a way that is meaningful and wants and is reflective of the public, right? How do they want to have that communicated? How do they want that shared? So yeah, storytelling is important. I think one thing that can be beneficial is we talk about like advocating for the practice, right? It's not necessarily advocating for a specific decision or cause or anything like that, but really public participation practitioners have that opportunity to advocate that good practices are happening and being embedded in the work. And so I think there's a lot of storytelling that can be done from that lens as well. That might, is outside of just telling an individual story or some of those types of things. Yeah.
And when we go beyond the story, Can you talk a little bit about accountability and follow through? So, a lot of public participation, means that, you know, people are given a task, right? They need to engage the public on a certain topic. So, how can agencies, organizations demonstrate like that we listened? These are the things that you said. This is what we did. Have that accountability. And also, what should they do when they can't act on feedback? Because the answer cannot always be yes, right? Sometimes that answer is no. And so, how do you build trust when sometimes the answer is going to be no? And how do you really authentically communicate constraints transparently?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is truly where that trust can either be built or broken. And so at IAP2, we have two guiding resources that really help support this work, our core values and our code of ethics. And in both of those, there's a strong emphasis on transparency, role clarity, and being able to close that loop, right? So that can look like clearly defining how the public input will be influencing the decision. So really being clear of that up front, I think is critical. Sharing all relevant information openly so that the public has the information that they need. There is a transparent process and it's being shared on the front end. Ensuring fair access to that process. And most importantly, like you were mentioning, communicating that feedback loop. Here's what we heard, and here's what we did with it. And you're right, sometimes you can't always act on all the feedback. That's real. But the key is to be honest about why. Why was that? I think people don't expect to get everything that they're asking for. But I think decisions can be much more well received or understood if it is communicated. People want to understand and feel respected, that they were heard, and that they understand how that decision was made. So sometimes it's less about getting what we want and more so being knowing that our opinion was listened to and heard. And so that transparency goes a long way in maintaining trust. And so then, yeah, within our code of ethics, that talks about things like defining the public's role. So being careful to consider how that's being portrayed. What is the public's role in the decision-making process? Having that openness and access to the process.
That's awesome.
Great.
I think that is really important, and I think that's hard. And sometimes we want to be able to give all the good answers. We want to give the answers that that we think are the right ones. And I think, like you said, really just prioritizing that relationship and the honesty that comes with it is much more important than actually having the right answers.
Yeah. And I think the reality is that oftentimes as public participation practitioners, you're working around conflict, you're working with decisions that are going to have different points of view, right? And sometimes those points of view are not always going to be aligned. And so the reality is that you're going to have people who have a different opinion or feel differently than the end outcome, and that's okay. But yeah, being able to communicate that feedback loop is so important.
And IAP2 board member Jay Anderson said last week, if somebody's, newly starting in community engagement and like what would you tell them? And he said, I would tell them that we already solved all the easy questions. Now you have all the easy problems. Now the only ones left are all hard ones. Because I think that's true more often than not. We're not going to have alignment. That's why we go through the process. That's why we do the work of community engagement, public participation, so that there can be alignment on issues where there's people are gonna start in very different places.
Yeah, and it does feel like issues and projects are becoming more and more complex. And so,
Yeah.
to me, I think that is more of a reason for P2, more of a reason of why this work is critical because to get to those good decisions, to get to those good answers, we know that having community involved in that decision making is what's going to yield a better outcome, right? We're not going to get those complex answers without having more of an engaged, complex process.
Yeah. What do you think of that advice, Matthias? You think we already solved all the easy problems, only the hard ones are left?
I mean, I like a good challenge, so challenges is what makes it life interesting. So let's keep it at it. There's always going to be room for that public input and that public participation. And I mean, a few low-hanging fruits will be nice as a younger in the professional and the public participation realm. I mean, even for the ones that are up to coming in the next couple of years, they'll find solutions and answers. I think Aaron, you were spot on about saying how do we root it in the community and how do we make sure we're building that trust. That's super critical and oftentimes gets missed in the work, right? It's the want to move at the speed of light, and really, as you move at the speed of trust, where with the people. I love that. Thank you, Aaron, so much for sharing that. And I'm just curious, um, when it comes to the building trust, uh, what are some strategies that you've used uh, in your work? Can you share a couple or examples or anything
Yeah.
you could bring to light on that?
Yeah. So I think, and this would maybe kind of be drawing on my, honestly, my past as a journalist and also as a counselor, is that really never underestimating that human aspect. Um, start with connecting as a person first, like the project, the engagement questions, the survey, all that can wait, but really starting with the person who's in front of you, I think it is key. And I had a former board member who I can be guilty of that myself sometimes, right? You've got your agenda, you got your thing list of to-dos, and you want to jump right into business. And he was always so great at reminding me to slow down, right? How are
Mm.
you? Right? Like, how is it going? Just giving a little bit more thoughtful space to that breath, right? Give that breath to um, connect as a person first. Whatever space you're in, I think that can go a really long way.
Mm.
I think that's such a great reminder. And I love how you say calling on, your other experiences because we all come into this work with other experiences, right? That shape so much of us. And for me, I had to keep a sticky note on my computer for years that said people before projects, right? Just like that reminder that, like get things done after you get the important work done of building those relationships and you never stop doing that. Like all along the process, you have to ask yourself, are you still remembering to put people first? That's a
Yeah.
reminder that I needed to like have written in front of myself every day. And hopefully
Yeah.
it always sticks with me.
Yeah. And I think we can apply that to ourselves too, right? Is that like we also are human. And so it's okay to give ourselves grace. Like this work is messy and we're not going to get it right every time, right? And so how do we get comfortable with making mistakes? How do we get comfortable with owning those and identifying those and trying again? I think that's also part of it. And so, yeah, when you have those mess ups or slip ups, it's okay to go back. And I think actually sometimes that more trust can be built in those times, right? Than when things are just going smooth sailing to begin with. So,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've been saying to everybody in all my projects, let's give ourselves all the grace we can because it's so unpredictable too. And I appreciate you bringing that up to the space because it is, we're human. We're not gonna get it perfect. Actually, it's better if we do it imperfectly and, work the bumps that come along the way with any process because it's not gonna be a straight road that get us there. It's really gonna be more of a squiggly line. Um, and that is public participation, right? I love the human aspect of that work. I mean. Aaron, those were mostly all the questions we had for you. Is there anything else you want the audience to know, or anything you want us to share? We still have some extra time. If folks on the live screen, hello, want to drop questions, please let us know. But anything else you want to share in terms about public participation, IEP2, or your role as the executive director?
I just am so grateful for this community as well, right? So everyone's doing this work in their own communities, but I think what IEP2 can do is create a community, a container for people to support one another in this difficult work. And yeah, how can we learn together? How can we grow together? Um, how can we feel heard too in a practice in a field that can be really challenging and yet is so critical, especially in today's environment where that trust is even more important. We need people that are stepping up and leaning in to do this work. So I encourage people to stay connected, keep learning, seek out opportunities, connect with other colleagues and members throughout the network. I think that's probably one of the most powerful things is seeing the relationships that can form even outside of your community, and how can you learn and bring new ideas to your work place as well.
I love that. I started my first introduction to IAP2. I was working for a public utility and doing community engagement, and I went to the IAP2 conference, and I felt so understood. I went to sessions where people were, having such similar challenges to what I was having, such similar experiences, and just being in a space with other people who understood and who had ideas on how to move things forward was so helpful to me, and helpful to know that there is bigger picture thinking happening, and kind of follow what that is instead of to feel like I'm doing it in isolation.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. And I think that, when I first came to the organization, I heard that a lot, that, IAP2 is kind of this best kept secret. And I do think we want to change that and get more awareness and out there because I do think that it is really powerful to be able to learn from other organizations, other projects, and have that support. And, a lot of that happens like you mentioned, at our conferences, at in-person events, in the training room. But there's a lot of, more informal opportunities too, and connecting with local chapters or joining committees, sitting in on a webinar. A lot of that happens, and you can form really beneficial relationships. And yeah, I think that's important too.
When is the next conference?
Yeah, so it will be coming up in Vancouver this year. The dates, I want to say it's the end of September, first week of October. I'll have to pull it from the website, but it is a great event, and we partner with IAP2 Canada. We alternate every other year between IAP2 USA and IAP2 Canada in hosting. So we were in San Antonio last year. We'll be in Vancouver this year, and then stay tuned for site to be determined for next year.
And there's a like
That's
a
exciting.
conference recap coming up, is that right?
Yeah, so we're trying something new this year to bring some of the best sessions from the San Antonio conference virtually. And so we recognize that sometimes like traveling to a national conference can be cost prohibitive, or people can't quite get there, make it there. And so we're taking some of those sessions and rolling them out virtually. And the nice thing there is you'll be able to join live, or if you're not able to attend the full sessions, you can come to the ones you can, and you'll receive the full session recording. So that takes place virtually May 6th and May 7th.
Oh, so mark your calendars. That's coming right around the corner. A couple of weeks. That's exciting. Especially if for those that haven't been able to attend the conference, like myself, I would love to do the recap to
Yeah,
see
so I
what
hope
I
you'll be
missed.
there.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything else that
You
IAP2
missed out on
is
Texas,
going on?
Matthias. You missed out coming to Texas.
I know I did. I definitely did. But next time I know I have a friend now in Texas, so I'll make it easier when next time
There
I'm
you
there.
go.
Uh, Aaron, I'm just curious, anything else IAP2 is going to be up to these next couple months, or if you're new to IAP2, how do folks get engaged? What would you
Absolutely. So
recommend?
Absolutely. So I would say, check out our website. Please feel free to reach out anytime. Contact info is available on our website, but encourage you to, check out our event calendar. We've got a lot of trainings, I think, really great opportunities, especially for folks who just either want more specific tools, resources to dive in, want to get a really good primer of what are we talking about when we talk about public participation. Our fundamentals training is great for that. So I think really, yeah, check out some of our events, reach out. I'm always happy to help get folks plugged in to a place that really meets what they're looking for as well.
Great. And for those folks on the live stream, I just dropped those links um, in the chat box, so you can check out the links Aaron just shared. And for anybody listening to this episode afterwards, make sure to check out the notes. You can see the calendar and all the cool stuff IAP2 is doing, and check out their website. It's definitely a great spot to be at. I've been engaged and it's fun. Even the webinars, I've done mostly the online engagement. I don't know, Jasmine, have you done any of the in-person? Sounds like you have.
I did. I started at the conference and I had a great experience, and that was a conference in Seattle. And then I joined the
Mm.
board. So I am staying engaged that way, which has been really nice for me because, when I decide if I'm going to be on a board or not, I usually ask myself, like, is now the right time? Am I the right person? And is this the right topic? And I feel like I've been lucky to learn a lot um, about IAP2 and just about public participation, about the continuum, the spectrum of engagement, and the conversations around how to improve that as well. So yeah, and I went to San Antonio, of course. I mean, that's in my backyard. I'm in Austin, so not too far away. Yeah, so that was great. Even though I work as the director at a university, I don't necessarily do the same type of engagement I was doing before. It is still something that I see the value in all the time, and in so many ways, I see it being used around me. And I've benefited from so much that I've learned from IAP too.
That's great.
Will I be in
Definitely a lot of
Vancouver? I don't
learning.
know. I haven't made any Vancouver plans yet. I would love to. I love Vancouver. What a beautiful place.
Hmm. And if you're ever on the West Coast, let us know, Aaron. I'd love to see a IAP2 conference out here in California.
Yeah.
Uh, I have one last question, and this one's just kind of off the top of my head. It came out if you're really to engage it. I know I said one if you had any final thoughts, but I'm curious. First, you good with the off script question, Aaron?
Of course, absolutely.
It's a fun one. It's a fun, more of a fun one. But what's something that you're reading or engaging with right now that opened your mind to something new or an idea?
Oh gosh. I've got to pull up I do a lot of audiobooks. Um,
Okay.
and I'm gonna get the title wrong. What is it? The Salt Stones, I believe is what it's called. Just finished that one. And it was very different. It was not something that I typically would be drawn to. It's a memoir actually about a shepherd. So
Mm.
someone that was raising sheep, like definitely not something in my community. But I think what I liked about maybe what I learned from it, not that book itself, but just that reminder of like to seek out opportunities that aren't just within our comfort zone. Like, seek something out, try something new, read something that you wouldn't necessarily be drawn to. Because I think in doing that, that helps us expand our own views and knowledge and exposure, right? And I think that also then helps us do a better job of connecting with others as well.
I
That
love
makes me want
that.
to ask you the same question, Matthias. What are you reading or engaging with right now that you find interesting?
Oh, that's a good one. I've been reading this book. Actually, I ran into this one a couple of days ago. It got me hooked. I'm actually like halfway in. It's called The Beginning Comes After the End,
Mm.
Rebecca Solnit. Um, it's very political, so my world is on the political, but what I've been really amazed by is, these moments in history that she brings that affects focused at the end of civilizations and of politics was also the start of new things, a new future. So she starts a chapter with actually talking about an example here in California where a lot of um, farms or acres of land have been given back to um, native indigenous tribes here in California, and it's really cool what they're deciding to do with the land is let it restore it, let it breathe, and because folks are doing that, there's been cases where even species of animals are coming back and rehabiting those lands and those spaces, just because there's been a lot of either the lands that they were sharing in the book if was used for farming or hasn't been used treated the with the most fairness in the last couple of years. So now that the tribal groups are coming in and letting the land breathe, it's flourishing. Native species are coming back, and it's really cool because here in Berkeley, where I am, there is a project similarly where a parking lot was just given back from the city of Berkeley, gave it back in 2024. And you're seeing that the ground is already like breaking apart, weeds are growing, and they have this giant mural that says "Let the land breathe," and they're really being intentional. So I've been really inspired. It's called "The Beginning Comes After the End." Rebecca Solnit, and it's really cool because it really does show you that you can emerge after these moments of
Mm.
downfall or destruction. So very positive note, I think, given the times that we're in.
Very timely, for sure.
Very timely. Jasmine, what are you reading? What are you engaging in?
Okay, what I'm reading right now is one of my neighbors wrote a book, Erin Leverone, and it's called Do the Thing. So
Mm.
it's she's one of those like life coaches. It's like don't get stuck. So do the thing. I just started, so I can't give much of a review, but I love supporting, people that I know that are doing the thing themselves and writing the book and taking the steps. And so I'm excited to read it. All right. And
Well,
so
yeah,
I'm so excited that we got to have this conversation together, Matthias. I really am so glad that Aaron connected us and through our work with IAP2 that we connected to do this podcast.
same. Jasmine, do you want to talk a little bit about what's coming up next and what sh should folks expect, of the
I
series?
I do. So we have a five-part series. Next, our topic is going to be about the movements of the moment, like what is happening right now. What are some of the movements that are taking shape right now, and really kind of being in these times that we're in, and how that relates to public participation. And also, I'm really excited that we got to have this conversation today. We really hope that this podcast series will give practical insight and new perspective on meaningful public participation. I hope people will stay connected and visit iap2.org. Follow IAP2 on social media. Consider becoming a member of your local chapter. And also, if people found this episode valuable, be sure to subscribe, share it with a colleague. And, as we do in public participation, keep showing up, keep listening, keep building better decisions together. I'm so excited about the conversations that we've yet to have and the one that we got to have today.
Oh yeah, I'm excited as well. We're gonna have a fun series ahead of us, and tune in a month. We're hoping we're gonna do this monthly. And once you follow IAP2 and you're signed up to their newsletter, you'll get all the reminders, all the emails, and how to sign up. But our hope is to do this format, LinkedIn Live, very candid. Aaron, thank you so much for being the first guest on our show, for, being the guinea pig in a way we've been saying. And I think it was a great opportunity to get to know more about you, the work that you're doing, and, how do we continue bringing community to the center of all these initiatives, the projects, and the work that we're doing. Truly, there'll be a lot more hard challenges ahead of us, and with the right people, they make it a lot easier to do so. So, any
Absolutely.
closing
Well,
thoughts
thanks
for
for
us,
having
Aaron?
me. No, I just thanks for
Thank
having me,
you.
and I look forward to following the rest of the series. I think it's going to be some really thoughtful, important conversations. So thank you both for leading that charge.
Thank you. And thank you for all you do for IAP too. You are, one of those executive directors that's such a gem. You're so on top of all of the things, and we're really lucky to have you leading the IAP2 charge.
Well, thank you.
Well, folks, this is Public Participation Amplified. I am your co-host, Matias Lemos Castillo. I am joined here by Jasmine Turk. And Aaron, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. We look forward to the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye.